welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Milani Most Wanted eyeshadow palette in the shade Burning Desire. If you do want to see a review and a demo, please keep watching. If you guys have not seen my previous review on the Rosy Revenge eyeshadow palette, I'll link it right over here in the cards if you guys are interested. Each palette retails for $8.99 at Target. These palettes are also available at Ulta, Walgreens, and CVS. I'll leave a link down below in the description box. Here's a closer look on what the packaging looks like. It says Milani on the front. When you flip it over to the back, it says Milani again, and then you have the shade name. On this side, it does tell you a little bit about the eyeshadow palette, and then you have the ingredients. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's start swatching. I love this color scheme in the Burning Desire palette. This screams everyday to me. So let's go ahead and start swatching the first shadow here. These shadows don't have any names, so we're just going to start with the first one. This shadow is very soft and buttery in the pan. Here's what that shade looks like. It didn't swatch as great. Let's try to blend this out. I do want to build up the pigment just a tad bit, so I have a little bit on my finger. That's a better swatch. Let's see what this next shadow swatch is like. It's very pretty in the pan. This one's not as buttery as the first shadow. Here's the second shade. It didn't swatch as great. Let me try to blend this out. I do want to give this shadow a fair shot, so let's try to build it up. Again, I have a little bit more on my finger. I'm gonna build it up and blend it out. That's a little bit better. I do love this shade. The third shadow in the palette is a shimmer. Very soft in the pan. Look at that. So pretty. So pigmented with one swipe. I want to blend out this shadow and build it up. I have a little bit more on my finger. That's a gorgeous shimmer shadow. Let's see what the fourth shadow swatch is like. It's this beautiful shimmer gold shadow. I do want to blend out this shadow. The shimmers you don't need to build up like the matte shades. The fifth shade in the palette is another matte shadow. Here's what that shade looks like. I'm not loving how the matte shades swatch, so I do want to build it up and blend it out. Taking a little bit more on my finger. I do really like that matte shadow. The last shade in the palette is a shimmer shade. Again, very soft in the pan. Here's what that beautiful shimmer looks like. Let me blend this out. Again, in my opinion, I don't think you need a lot of the shimmers. It's pigmented on its own. Here we have all 6 shades swatched on the back of my hand. Now we're going to create a look using this palette. Taking a fluffy brush, we're going to dip into the second shadow. We're going to be blending that all over the crease. Ooh, again, very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. So far, this shadow is a little bit hard to blend out. I'm going back and forth with it, but I do like how the shade looks like in the crease. I'm going to be doing the same thing for the other eye. I didn't even take that much, and it's picking up a lot on the brush. It's okay if we do get a little bit of this shadow on the lid. We will be adding another shadow to cover it up. I did find that the second shade in the palette was a bit hard to blend out. Taking that same fluffy brush, we're going to dip into this fifth matte shadow. We're going to be blending this shade right below the second shadow. Another thing I do want to point out, I'm having the same issue as I dip my brush into each shadow. I do have a little bit of hiccup. It's a lot of product that's going to waste. I'm going to go below the second shadow. We're going to blend this right below the first shadow we placed on our lid. We want to create a sunset look. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. This shade in the palette that we're currently using is so easy to blend out. It's not like the first shade. I'm gonna go back in using that second shadow, build up that orange. It looks like we lost it a little bit. I'm loving how the look is turning out so far. Taking a flat brush, we're gonna dip into the sixth shadow in the palette. We're gonna be placing this shadow on our outer corner. Just like that. I'm gonna be doing the same thing for the other eye. Using that same flat brush, we're going to dip into the third shadow in the palette. We're going to be placing that shadow in our inner corner. We don't want to cover up the center of our lid because we're going to be adding a different shadow. Just like that. That way we have two different shadows. We're going to be doing the same thing on this eye. Swapping my brush for a smaller flat brush, we're gonna dip into this fourth shadow. We're gonna be placing this shadow in the center of our lid. You don't have to be as detailed as possible, we just want to place it in the center. I'm going to blend the other two shadows together so there's no harsh lines. That is so pretty. That's exactly what I was going for, a sunset vibe. Well, sort of. I'm going to be doing the same thing for the other eye. Here's what the eyeshadow is currently looking like. I do have a little bit of fallout underneath my eyes from the shimmer shadows. I'm gonna clean that up really quickly and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. I cleaned the fallout underneath my eyes and I added mascara. The mascara I currently have on is by L'Oreal. It's my favorite. It's the L'Oreal Unlimited. For lips, I applied the shade in Girl Gang by ColourPop. This is their lippy stick. I love this shade. My final thoughts on the Milani Most Wanted eyeshadow palettes is that I don't really like these palettes. They are very hard to blend out. They're very soft in the pan. I do lose a lot of product while I am applying shadow on my lids. I've used the Rosy Revenge eyeshadow palette a couple times after I filmed that video. I did notice there is a lot of kick up in the pans when I dig my brush into it, so that means I'm losing a lot of product. When I do build up the pigment from this particular shadow, I build it up, blend it out, and it just blends out into nothing, especially the matte shades in the palette. The shimmer shadows I love. I love how pigmented and buttery these shadows are. They're very soft and pigmented. I'll definitely purchase this palette again just for those two shimmer shadows. If Milani did sell these two shimmer shadows individually, I would purchase them in a heartbeat. Going back to this particular palette in the shade Burning Desire, I wasn't a huge fan of this palette either. I don't like the matte shadows. I don't like how they blend out. They're very hard to blend out. I have to continue using my brush, blending and buffing it out. I would recommend the Burning Desire palette versus the Rosy Revenge palette. The matte shades in this palette are a bit more pigmented than the Rosy Revenge palette. I do also love the shimmer shadows. I wish Milani would just sell the shimmer shadows individually. Continue to use the Burning Desire eyeshadow palette. I'm going to play with it a little bit more before I do post this video, and I will leave below in the description box down below how it did perform, how I liked it, etc. If you guys have purchased the Most Wanted eyeshadow palettes from Milani, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I did also want to show you guys how the final look did turn out. If you guys did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video.